hello.
Sorry.
Sorry too. We are all here, and so we're going to have a little story about a Thanksgiving from way back in my childhood. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to just set the phone down, and
Mom,
if you,
turn the volume.
No,
She needs to mute.
Mom needs to mute herself.
So when she's
can
coughing.
can you mute yourself?
Yes. Is somebody recording this?
Yes,
So-
yes. That's why we would like
We
for you to
don't-
mute
We
yourself.
don't like the recording part, but they are doing that. That's true.
Okay. I will mute myself though.
Okay, thank you. So this occurred this morning. I was still in my pajamas, and I had an incredibly visual picture of a Thanksgiving dinner at 9:23. Now I'm going to go a little slow on this because I want to bring Tim into this so that he understands what we're talking about. My grandparents owned a house on 8th Street, and it was 923. And so we refer to that house as 923.
Mhm.
My grandmother prepares a Thanksgiving dinner. Number one, she loved to cook. Number two, all of the best table setting that she had was on that table. The plates matched, the bowls matched, the serving bowls matched, the salt and pepper shakers matched, the gravy train matched. Everything was perfect, and she enjoyed doing that immensely. Now, just as an aside, Tim, 923, Janie and I bought that house from my grandparents, and it was the first home of Cinnamon, Smiley Cinnamon, and Snickery Jama. This was their first home, and just so that's just an aside, so you get the picture of that. So she had this dining room table that was bigger than this table because we all sat around it in the dining room area of this house. And then over at 5, clear back by the power box, you might recall that there is an aluminum table that folds up from that, and that aluminum table was purchased by my grandparents when we could no longer sit around the big table. So as the Baumgartner kids started coming around 10 years younger than us, they needed their parental support at the dining room table. So my cousin David, who was older than we were, and my 3 sisters and I were relegated to that table in the living room. Not the dining room, but the living room, which was huge. And that table had 2 folding benches that were used, and I'm not sure what happened to those.
Alicia has them.
I'm sorry?
Alicia has them.
Alicia has them, okay. So Alicia has those benches, but David and my 3 sisters and I would sit at that table in the living room, and we rather enjoyed it because we could have our conversations different than what the adults would have their conversations at the main table. So that was kind of cool. But the point is that my grandmother, Verda, as we refer to her, was an excellent cook, and she relished in creating a dinner much similar to what we have here today. It's not the same. This is unique, but the energy and the efforts that Verda put into that dinner for her family is the same as Janie puts into a dinner like this. And it is just amazing to me that there is so much correlation between the two of them, even though their styles are different. And so I just need to say how blessed I feel and how thankful I feel today that that all of that happened in I was probably, I don't know, 10, 12 years old at the time when I had this vision of of Grandma's setting. But it just brought me up to date here that this is very, very, very much the same. And it's a compliment. It's a compliment that I mean to Janie to do her kind of thing in all of this energy and all of this thankfulness that we have today. So that's the end of my speech. That's the end of that. But it hit me this morning, and I just needed to share this with you because it is a part of my history and a little bit of history with those who lived at 923. So
Thank you.
that's the end.
And Mom, I don't remember Verda's cooking, but if it was anything like this, then it was incredible.
Yeah.
And absolutely incredible the way that you cook and prepare and make sure that everybody has enough, and there's always plenty. And I know
Thank you, Dad.
you cook
Well,
with
you're
love.
welcome. You're welcome.
I learned from the best.
You learn
So-
from, yeah.
You are smiley little girl, and then your sister is snarky little girl.
That's not what you originally
I
said.
did-
that's
oh, no,
us.
maybe I said it differently.
Something else.
Yeah,
We'll go
okay.
back on the video.
Snickery.
Yeah,
Snickery.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yep.
where was the aluminum table then that you guys were pushed off to?
It is now in storage unit 5
Well,
back.
yeah, but I mean, where would you have been pushed off to in that house?
In the
Oh,
living
in the
room.
living,
Where the
living.
piano was?
No, no,
Yes,
no, no.
yes, with the
In the
piano.
middle of that big living.
The front room with the big
The front
window.
room
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
with a bench.
I remember those aluminum benches.
Yeah.
Because we did a Thanksgiving with the
I'm
group,
not
with the Edgars and the Wingards, in our house.
Yes.
On Thanksgiving Day one year, and I remember
probably
sitting
a half
at that
pound.
bench
And
in
that-
the TV
probably half a
room,
pound of
and then we
potatoes.
turned the
Yeah,
little
half
TV on
pound.
so we could watch the parade.
Oh,
And all the
okay.
little
That's what you're
kids
supposed to do
gathered
on
around the
Thanksgiving.
little TV watching the parade.
It's so full you can't
Okay,
move.
you know, Alicia
No,
may have
I
those
can
benches.
move.
Yes, she
It's
took
just
them.
it's
No,
gonna
you
take
pass
me a
out
little
over
bit.
And the little pads that went with it, but
Okay.
she didn't get the table.
No,
I'm
and,
not-
and
I'm
so
not
that
gonna lay
so
down
that
and take a
table
nap.
I think I might
that
walk
table
downstairs
has to
and
be
watch football and sleep.
70
Mm-hmm.
years old. I mean, it
Because
is.
you're old.
Yes, because I'm.
I remember that house, even though we moved in 75 to 6th Street.
You were.
4. We moved in 74.
74, so I was 2,
Yeah.
and I remember that house.
Yep.
But I thought Cinnamon came to the apartment.
She came from
She
the
did.
apartment first, but
She
that,
did.
that was the
Yeah,
apartment.
But soon after
Yeah,
that,
not in California.
Yeah, in California.
soon after
That's why
that,
you
we
moved to
bought
California.
Yeah.
we bought
Huh?
920.
That's why you moved to
23.
California.
Oh, yeah, because we were pregnant.
You were
Yeah,
pregnant,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so 2.5 years later, we had a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It was a very long pregnancy.
Yeah.
Very long.
Do you know that story?
No.
That
That was my
There-
roommate.
his
You wanna-
roommate,
you wanna
Dave-
hang up on that, her, or does she
What?
want to go back?
She
to
Do you
can-
want to hang in here, Cinnamon?
No, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you for calling.
Okay, alrighty.
I love the story. Thank you, Dad.
Get a little rest, please.
I will go back to sleep. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
There was a guy that was very close to Grandpa,
My roommate.
roommate, yeah, and he knew Grandpa from Friedenswald
Yeah,
and things like that. His name was David Yoder. And his mother and father, he was was he the youngest?
he was the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
He was a surprise.
And he was
No,
his-
no, sir.
Oh,
no.
Laura.
Laura
the
was
the
youngest.
youngest. she's the
Laura was
youngest.
the youngest.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But
they
they
were
were-
older. But one of my favorite memories, I have 2 memories of David's parents. David's father was a minister, and he got his car one time, and their steering wheel was moved. It was gone. It was in the back seat. And the other one is his mom.
Oh, Jean.
Jean, she would say, she was getting ready to pray, and she'd say, "Hello, God?
Hello,
hello,
Lord.
here we are." So anyway, he was a very, very close friend of ours. And he told everybody that we moved to California because I was pregnant.
Mm.
So when we came back for May Day, I didn't have a baby.
Everybody's like,
So here this has been festering
nor-
for a
nor
year
were
or
you
two.
pregnant.
And
No, was I pregnant?
yeah.
Anyway.
But this is also the guy that would, like, David and a couple of your other groomsmen were going to kidnap
yeah,
Dad
yeah,
so he wouldn't show up for the wedding
yeah.
and do stuff to the
Goodness,
car.
right.
Like do
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
to the car, like mess up the car and do whatever. So they hid the car somewhere, and Grandma and Grandpa were getting ready to, Grandma and Mom's sister Judy was getting ready to leave after they opened the wedding gifts. So they decided to walk them out and say goodbye, but they kept going, and Doug and Judy got them to their car so they could leave for their honeymoon without their car being discovered, because these guys,
These guys were so dangerous.
and they had one of the other brides in the group of friends in tears on her wedding day, thinking that they were going to kidnap.
Yeah, right.
Was
So-
that Hummel?
So those
Hummel.
Randy Hummel?
Yeah,
So
that
the,
was
Nancy?
the guys showed up on Friday night.
Bless you.
Well, maybe Saturday night. I don't remember.
No, it was
Friday
Friday
night.
night. Yeah.
Friday night, and they sat in a car trying to be disguised about a block and a half from Janie's parents' home. And the lady next to the alley got a little concerned.
oh,
And so she called the cops. And so the cops come over to check on these guys. And so they finally decided that they had to give up their spotting
Yes,
and
spotting.
come and confess to us that they were already on at
And Marion.
class. And so that happened. And then later on, when one of my best friends got married, he and his best friend both bought 1963 Ford XLs, 394 speeds. Both of them. They were together. I mean, they were identical. One was black and the other was purple or a burgundy. So when Randy got married, we broke into his aunt's house or whomever's house it was. I don't remember what it was. We got into a basement and got a window open, and we took the jack stands out of that 63 XL, and we went over to the church, and we had two jack stands at that point, and we jacked up the back end, took all the tires off, went around the front, jacked that up, took all the tires off. So when
did
they
you put it on blocks?
So when they came out of the reception, the car was sitting on its brake drums with the Ford tires and lugs and everything right beside it. So Nancy was very
She was a
worried
basket case.
that we
Yeah.
were going to abscond her or Randy and put him on a train. That we announced that was what we were going to do.
Well,
So
she probably believed you with all your
So
shenanigans.
she was in anxiety to the hilt because she thought that this was going to be a real disaster. So, but you know, it's all in
I
fun.
think if anybody would have
All
done that
in
to Tessa,
fun.
she would have probably had a stroke.
Yeah.
I did really well on my wedding day. Even
On your
Sarah
wedding
was
day,
shocked.
but I'm
Yeah.
You
saying
did very,
the
very
lead up
well.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You're
even
so
Sarah
stressed
was
out,
like,